Unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard about this thing called ChatGPT. And if you've seen some of my videos, you've probably heard me mention it or seen me use it a few times in my processes related to Etsy print on demand. But what you may not know is that I actually use ChatGPT in lots of ways for my shops to not only save myself time, but also to tap into ideas and creativity that I never would have thought of otherwise. So for today's video, I'm going to share with you my top 3 different prompt formats that I use on a regular basis. In case we haven't met yet, my name is Mandy, and as the owner of multiple 6-figure businesses, including Etsy print-on-demand shops, my goal is to provide you with strategies to simplify the journey and scale your business faster so that you can stop the overwhelm, start making progress, and ultimately thrive with your print-on-demand business. Now, when it comes to Etsy and running a shop for print-on-demand, I am typically using ChatGPT in 3 key ways. Number 1 is shop structure. So that's for things like a shop announcement or an about section. Number 2, listing components. And so that's going to include things like titles and the beginning of my listing descriptions. And number 3, my personal favorite, product design ideas to specifically target ideal customers within a specific niche, which is by far one of the most common questions that I get. So let's dive in. First up is shop structure. So this is for things like your shop announcement and your about section. Quite often I see sellers skip these areas because they aren't sure what to put or they think they're not important. However, it is actually part of your customer and market experience score, which is one of the areas that Etsy uses for ranking your shop within the algorithm. Therefore, it's important to have something in both, even if it's short and sweet. It's also an opportunity to use some of your related keywords as well, whether that's a niche or an aesthetic or both. So for example, if you are selling apparel with a retro nature vibe across niches and you're targeting book lovers, different professions, and let's say various outdoor activity enthusiasts, I would craft a shop announcement using a prompt something like this. In my Etsy shop, I sell sweatshirts and personalized gift items with a retro vibe, and my target audiences are people who love books, have careers, and enjoy outdoor activities. Write me a short 2-sentence introduction that I can use for my Etsy shop. Then we'll let it run, do its thing, and it will give us an initial prompt. So for this one, welcome to shop name. Discover a world of cozy and personalized retro-inspired sweatshirts and gifts, perfect for book lovers, career-driven individuals, and outdoor enthusiasts alike. Elevate your style and passion with our unique collection, crafted just for you. That's perfect. If you wanted to regenerate it, you could also use this regenerate button anytime you wanted to come up with an additional prompt. Or if you decide you want to get more specific, you can actually edit the initial one, save and submit, and it will regenerate another one from that as well. If I have any sort of shop announcement or shipping deadlines, I will also mention it above where I would add in this language in my shop. But otherwise, something like this would be perfect. And again, you can tweak it based on your own aesthetic or style that you plan on having within your shop. If you offer customization, I usually also add a note in there too that they can reach out via Etsy messages if they have any special requests. But as far as ChatGPT goes, this is all you need, so you could easily copy and paste that into your Etsy shop and just add on some of those other components depending on what you offer. You can do something similar for your about section. Again, it seems small and not important, but your about section can help build trust with your customer. And again, it just checks that box within Etsy's ranking process as well. So if I wanted one for me, for example, I might say something like, I enjoy the creative process, coming up with designs that will resonate with customers for themselves or as gifts for others. Outside of work, I enjoy spending time with family. Write me a 2-sentence summary that I can use for the about section of my Etsy shop. And quite frankly, if you just wanted to use the first couple sentences that I put in there, that would be enough. But I like to see what ChatGPT will come up with. It can usually have a little bit more flowery language and just make it a little more interesting. So that's why I like to use ChatGPT for this. So it came back with, I'm passionate about the creative journey, crafting designs that connect with customers, whether they're treating themselves or shopping for loved ones. Beyond my work, I cherish quality time with family, finding inspiration in the warmth of those close to my heart. Maybe a little too flourishy for me, so if I wanted to regenerate it, I could, and I could see what else it comes up with. And again, you could always tweak it based on your own tone, your own personality. You could even plug in something within the prompt itself to say, make it funny or lighthearted. You can definitely adjust your prompts with tone as well, and ChatGPT will do a pretty good job with that. Next is your listing components. Now, before you get to this part, there is one caveat that I have for you. You need to do your research and validate your keywords first so that you know exactly what kind of data is supporting the keywords that you're using and feeding into your prompts. So that is where I would use tools like Everbee or eRank, or even looking out on Etsy at some of the best sellers, especially if it's within my niche, to see what type of keywords that they're tapping into. But definitely make sure you're doing your research first and then using that to plug into ChatGPT as you're then prompting it for different components of your listing. That way it's going to be a lot more accurate and you can know and feel good about the keywords that you're plugging in. So let's start with the title as an example. I've got my dog mom shop that I use for this channel, so let's use that example. And let's say I want a title for a shirt that has a retro design on it and it's intended for a Bernese Mountain Dog mom or owner. With titles, you also want to make sure that you are leading with your strongest keywords. So for this one, I'm going to use a prompt something like, use these keywords to write me a listing title that maximizes the 140 character limit for an Etsy listing. Use long tail keyword phrases starting with Bernese Mountain Dog mom sweatshirt, because again, I know those are my strong keywords, and then separate with commas. And then you're going to paste in your keywords, so I'll plug those in and we will let it do its thing. So here it has now come up with Bernese Mountain Dog mom sweatshirt, retro dog shirt, burner dog gift, burner mom, dog mom gifts, dog mom birthday gift, and dog owner tee. If we regenerate it, we can see another one and we can easily go back and forth between the two to compare. And then quite often I will take a couple different title examples that I get and I might then plug them just into a Word document and I might combine a couple. So for example, I don't necessarily want to keep using a dog a ton of times. I could give it an additional prompt and say combine phrases and reduce the number of times dog is used, because again, we don't want to keyword stuff or have any sort of potential there. So if I do that, then I've essentially created a much stronger title that's going to have a variety of different words within it and different keywords based on what I plugged in. Again, the point of this is that you are generating some different ideas and different ways to combine your title so that when you plug it into Etsy, you've got a much stronger phrase that uses the keywords that are going to be important within your listing. You can also use this method for tags, but quite often I'm pulling my tags from my title and the keywords that I've already identified. So I usually have enough to go off of without ChatGPT for that. If you do use it for tags though, again, just make sure that you are plugging in keywords based on your research and not relying solely on ChatGPT. Similarly, you can do this with your listing description. While Etsy doesn't use your description to query match with searches, it does use your description for context. So that's why it's important that you have some consistencies within the keywords and how you are describing the product, and you want to make sure that it's in sentence format and not just a copy paste of your title. You want it to be written like a human would read it. So again, my prompt would be something like, use these keywords to write me a short product description with 2 sentences for a retro Bernese Mountain Dog sweatshirt. And in this case, we're going to copy in our strongest keywords in this case. So I'm going to be using a Bernese Mountain Dog sweatshirt and burner dog mom gift. We'll let that generate and we'll see what we get. Elevate your style and celebrate your love of Bernese Mountain Dogs with our cozy retro sweatshirt, a perfect gift for any proud burner dog mom. Wrap yourself in comfort and showcase your passion in this must-have Bernese Mountain Dog sweatshirt. that would work for me. Again, you could always use regenerate, refine as needed, but something like that, again, for the purposes of the beginning of your description is perfect. So copy, paste, done. The beauty of this method is that if I am then batching several Bernese Mountain Dog designs all at once and batching several listings, I can reuse this paragraph again and again in my descriptions. And finally, my favorite prompts. Designs that will resonate with customers. If you've ever scrolled bestsellers on Etsy and see these witty or niche specific phrases, especially text-based designs, and wondered, how do people come up with these things? You may be thinking they seem so perfect for the niche that they're selling in. And that's the point. And that's why they sell really well, because someone in that niche sees that design and says, yes, that speaks to me. I can totally identify that. Sold. And that is how bestsellers happen. So how do sellers do that? Sure. Some people are probably naturally super quick-witted, but I'm generally not one of those people, especially if I'm trying to come up with something for a niche or target customer that I don't really know all that much about, let alone be able to come up with something witty that will resonate with them. The trick to making designs that literally speak to a customer is to use text or phrases that are specific to them. And this is where the prompts come in. The trick is to think about what you're trying to design for, so a shirt, a tote, whatever it might be, who you're trying to target, and then any specific elements or themes that you want to make sure are included. So let's start simple. Let's say you want a funny shirt based on a niche. For that prompt, I would say, give me 20 funny or snarky phrases for a shirt or other product design that only a blank would understand. And in the blank, you're using your target audience, whether that's a pickleball player or a math teacher or a realtor, you get the idea. So for example, I might say something like, give me 20 funny phrases that I could use for a shirt design that only a social worker would understand. We let that generate, and then we'll get a few different options. Sometimes they're long, sometimes they're short. And so this is where sometimes you can refine if you need to, but quite often you'll get some really creative options. So for example, this one right here, empathy, our favorite superpower. If I were going to design for something like this, I might say something like empathy in different colored letters. And then under that, I might say my favorite superpower or something like that. Or even something like this one, you could have a coffee theme in there, overthinking and overcaffeinating, social worker's life, something along those lines. Or you could have social worker across the top in the bold letters with different colors using some sort of trendy font like the collegiate font or a retro font. And you could have then underneath that, overthinking and overcaffeinated. And again, these are intended to prompt you with different ideas that resonate specifically with whatever your target audience is, so that you can then derive a design from that. You can also use these types of prompts to cross niche and really try to leverage a couple of different audiences. So for example, you could have something like, give me 20 design themes I could use for a blank, so your target customer, that blank. And this would be an activity or hobby or other interests that they might feel strongly about. So as an example, give me 20 design themes I could use for a book lover that loves to travel. And we'll let that work and see what we get. So something like exploring worlds, one chapter at a time. You could have like a map in there. You could have different books. You could incorporate some other different design elements in there. You could also have similar themes that are very popular right now. So wander, read, repeat. We've seen that in other different bestsellers on Etsy. And this is a way to combine a couple of different niches to really try and hone in on a specific customer and something that will specifically resonate with them. Doesn't mean you have to use the whole phrase. Again, in this example, I would actually just use a little part of it. But again, we're looking for clues and we're looking at things that are going to stand out and that we can do something with in terms of a design that will be interesting. Sometimes your designs might then be text-based. Sometimes you could incorporate additional elements or graphics into the design to really help it stand out. But honestly, a lot of times with these text-based phrases, you could keep it simple, have it in a nice font or have it in a multicolored font that's very in line with styles that do well on Etsy. And as long as your design or your phrase is resonating with a specific customer, those are the instances where you can keep it really simple. Simple in terms of just having a basic design that says blessed or having a simple design that says thankful. Those are going to be really hard, no matter how cute the design is, no matter how cute the font is. There's a ton of that out there already. If you're going to go the simple route with text-based, you have to make sure that you are speaking to your customer, speaking in their language, and connecting the design to them. And that is the purpose of having prompts like this, to really start to nail down and hone in those different topics or elements that will speak to your customer. For something like this, you could even do a nature lover that loves to hike. If you wanted to connect a couple themes, again, within a broad niche, you can bring in those different elements and start to combine your niches and even aesthetics in different ways. Another example of cross-niching: give me 20 funny shirt ideas that a blank, again, hobby, occupation, family member even, would love based on their blank. So again, connect it with something personal. So an example of this could be, give me 20 funny shirt ideas that a married couple would love based on their wedding anniversary. So maybe you have an adventure theme or have some sort of outdoors or mountains as part of the design. You could have something in there that says married life, where every year is an adventure. You can even make it personalized, have it be like a 2-year anniversary or a 5-year anniversary. Shirts, particularly when they have themes, do really well. Think about what things couples like to do together for activities or hobbies, and connect that in different ways. You can even go the funny route, married AF for anniversary years. So married AF for 5 years and loving it. Again, could be funny, could be a lot of different ways you could go with that. Maybe you're targeting audiences that like murder shows or true crime, and you want to create a couple's design for that. Partners in crime since X number of years. Again, you could personalize it, you could have years in there, you could have names in there, but it's a fun way to incorporate something that is resonating with them specifically and tied to them as customers, so that when they're scrolling, it speaks to them. You could even get specific with something like, give me 20 cute shirt ideas that a yoga instructor would love based on their zodiac sign. Zodiac is very popular right now, especially if you are creating designs for each of the different zodiacs and then using those as keywords. So Taurus, Aries, Sagittarius, incorporating those in your keywords and your design. You could really have all sorts of different things that you could connect to that. And finally, group listings. Group listings can be such a great way to break into bigger volume niches, such as bachelorettes, bridal, family vacations, and more. But in order to do so, you need to be able to connect it to specific themes. And again, make sure that you are resonating with your ideal customer. Simply doing bride or simply doing maid of honor isn't going to be enough anymore to get your listing to stand out. You've got to get creative, and you've got to be able to connect your design and your listing to a specific customer. So here's what my prompt would look like for that. Give me 20 ideas for a blank, so group listing type, based on the theme of blank. And that could be hobby, travel destination, activity, aesthetic, you name it. For example, give me 20 ideas for a bachelorette group shirt design based on the theme of camping. So when I've looked into eRank and used my tools, I know that for bachelorettes, camping themes do really well, and they're in high search volume right now. So this is where we could leverage that by combining a theme, which is camping, and our target group, which is bachelorettes, and coming up with something that could be funny or interesting or have other design elements tied into it. So for example, Batch and Camp, a wild adventure awaits. I like this one, Wild at Heart, Campin' for Love. Camping with the Bride Tribe, Campfire Confessions, Bachelorette Edition. You could easily have like a camping tent or a campfire theme as part of your design elements, and then have Campfire Confessions Bachelorette Edition, or you could have, instead of Bachelorette Edition, you could say a Jennifer's Edition if that's the name of the Bachelorette. So you could tie in personalization as well, which tends to do really, really well in the Bachelorette themes. Camping Cheers and the Bride, Camp Out, Laugh Out, Bride Out. So lots of really good examples. Bachelorette and bridal in particular tends to be a group listing idea that ChatGPT does really well with and has come up with some really fun and interesting themes and interpretations, and even just phrases that can really be connected to then an overall design or aesthetic for your group listing. Another fun one to do that is also doing really well on Etsy, especially with Christmas coming up, give me 20 ideas for a most likely to themed set of family shirts that have a Christmas theme. And you can replace Christmas with family vacation, family cruise, international travel, all sorts of different directions you could go with that. But again, really great designs and phrases that you could absolutely use as part of your theme. So most likely to deck the halls before Thanksgiving, eat all the Christmas cookies, be Santa's little helper, so that could be great for the kids' shirt if it's a family group listing, get lost in the Christmas lights. You can also give additional clarification within your prompts, again, if you want it to be funny or snarky, which do typically tend to do well, particularly on text-based designs for Etsy. Now remember, each of these prompts, and with ChatGPT in general, you need to use some common sense. You may need to refine the results that you get or adjust them slightly to fit your tone. In some cases, I will also pick and choose and create different combinations of phrases or designs based on the variety of results that I get. You may have noticed I use 20 as my common prompt. There's nothing magical about that number. It just ensures that I get a good amount of results from the prompts so that I've got plenty to pick and choose from. Now you may be wondering why I don't use it to come up with a bunch of different separate niches at one time. A lot of sellers will take a single design, make it scalable, and then immediately turn that into 50 plus or more designs with ChatGPT by asking it to list a bunch of different professions and hobbies, and then bulk edit that in Canva. And you can totally do that. That works really well. However, since I do my designing and listing in batches, specifically for efficiency, I actually focus on several different designs for the same niche or theme at one time. Number one, it's simply part of my flow with doing research on a specific niche. And so it's going to be way easier to focus my time on one related theme or target customer as I'm moving through each stage between research, design, and listing. And number two, when I then get to creating the listing in Printify and finalizing it in Etsy with specific keywords and tags, I'm not constantly having to swap out a bunch of tags or keywords to fit different niches. I can essentially infiltrate the niche that I just got done researching with a bunch of designs to start getting an idea of what's going to stick and attract a buyer for that niche, versus list one shirt for a lawyer, a separate listing and keywords for a beagle dog mom, and so forth. There's no right or wrong to it. That's just my preferred workflow for staying organized and my methodology for scaling my listings. If you want to see how all of that works in practice, be sure to check out my time blocking series where I take a deep dive into all of my processes for working super efficiently with that particular method. As a special treat, I've dropped a copy of each of the ChatGPT prompts that I used today down in the description in case you'd like to reference it or create your own variations of prompts from it. Above all, have fun with it and get creative. And as a reminder, if you are still in the midst of figuring out what you should be doing right now to prepare your shop for Q4, don't think I forgot about it. Head to my Q4 playlist that I've linked for you. It's not too late to get started, and I've got some tips for you there. I've also put together a Q4 guide that is available in my digital store that I have linked below. It's full of design tips, popular holiday niches, more ChatGPT prompts, a listing calendar to help you know what to list and when, and my checklists for both Q4 prep and Q4 survival. It can be purchased on its own, or if you are part of my Simply Thrive Club, it has already been added to the resource vault for you. And if you're looking for a little extra encouragement and support and want to be surrounded by fellow print-on-demand entrepreneurs on the same journey in a super positive and encouraging environment, I would love to have you be part of a growing membership community in the Simply Thrive Club. Many of my members are in the final stretch of a 28-day listing challenge as this month's group challenge. It's intended to set them on the path of spending 4 weeks of taking daily action so that they can start making progress and get their shop staged for success going into Q4. I also opened up office hours within the community where I will be available live a couple extra times during each month for the rest of the year within the membership community to answer questions and support members navigating Q4. We actually had our first one earlier today on the day that I'm filming this, and we ended up hanging out as a group for 2 hours answering as many questions as possible. If you're seeing this later in the year and still want to join the membership to take part in the challenges or be able to pop in during my virtual office hours, we'd love to have you. Access to past challenges and live calls are always available in the group. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you want to learn more about my strategies for thriving in your print-on-demand business, make sure you've got the notifications turned on for my channel so that you don't miss out on any of my content. And in the meantime, be sure to check out the dedicated playlist with my full print-on-demand masterclass course right here on YouTube, as well as my time blocking series for an even deeper dive on the critical steps for success. Thanks for watching. I'm so glad you're here, and I'll see you on the next one. If you're looking for more ways to continue the journey and stay connected, I'm so excited to invite you to my brand new membership, the Simply Thrive Club. Unlike other programs, this is not a course. In fact, it's not even a program in the traditional sense. And that's because all of the steps that you need to build your print-on-demand business can be obtained for free on my channel through a variety of videos and playlists that I've put together specifically to help you on your journey. My in-depth course is not behind a paywall. So instead, this new membership is all about community with ongoing challenges to drive growth and a support system for accountability to keep going. It's goal setting to maximize your pockets of time and stay organized so that you can thrive even amidst a busy schedule. And it's action taking with expert resources and tools in order to master skills necessary for scaling faster and more efficiently. That is where the magic happens in your print-on-demand journey. Your willingness to clarify your goals, commit with consistency, and adapt your mindset and your approach so that you understand what will work and what won't. This totally new platform is a community that is off of social media and away from spam and distractions, including a community app. I've created over 80 plus professional mockups with more on the way. There are monthly accountability challenges because did I mention I'm all about consistency? And live group calls each month where we can talk about all things print on demand, time blocking, setting realistic goals, finding process efficiencies, and so much more. Be sure to check it out, and in the meantime, keep going, keep learning, and keep growing on your print on demand journey.